And so every one of us has a money story. It's what we learned growing up. How did your mother think about money? What was your father's relationship with money? What did you learn about saving, spending, giving? There's a lot of emotion wrapped up in money.
Hi there, my name is Dee Dee, and you're listening to Thrivefecta from BMO Wealth Management, a podcast celebrating Women's History Month. Today, our guest is Jennifer Risher, an author, speaker, philanthropist, and investor. She's on a mission to move money out of the taboo category and has written a book to that end called We Need to Talk, a memoir about wealth. And its purpose is to help start much-needed conversations about the sometimes touchy subject of money. In just a moment, she's going to tell us more of her backstory and the why behind this book. Jennifer is on the board of Women Moving Millions and is a member of Women Donors Network and Solidaire. She lives in San Francisco with her husband, David. We are so excited to have her here today. Let's now turn it over to Jennifer Risher.
My name is Jennifer Risher. I've been very fortunate. When I was in my 20s, through Microsoft and Amazon, I came into incredible wealth very quickly. So I joined Microsoft. I met my husband there. We got stock worth millions. Then he started at a small startup selling books on the internet. He was the 37th employee at Amazon. And we were new parents. And at the same time that suddenly we had this new wealth, we had a new baby. Both experiences were so powerful in my life. It was like this curtain had lifted. I was a mother. This other curtain had lifted. I had this wealth. And in the wealth space, there was just silence. In the motherhood space, I joined a mother's group. I shared with so many people who had the same experience I did. And it was so powerful to talk about birth stories. How do we keep our babies from crying? How do we, the emotions that come up? How do we deal with our in-laws? I was surrounded by peers, and I had this other piece of my life that I was doing everything I could to keep hidden because I didn't want to be disconnected from this group. It's time. It was so much part of my awareness was there, like aware of the differences, aware of my own experience. And now, of course, I look back and I think, in the name of connection, I wasn't really showing up for who I really was. So how connected was I really? But at the time, there's the exhaustion of just part of me not being authentically present, or always this other awareness, worried about how are they perceiving me? Or if I talk too much about how much David works, are they going to really look into what his job is and how much he is working and how much? So there was a lot of, trying to keid silent, even with my parents. I grew up sort of believing that the rich were other, and I had sort of become what I'd grown up prejudiced against. And my parents, as they saw me in my life, like with Microsoft and Amazon, they never mentioned anything about money or wealth. So I felt like I couldn't mention it. And so I believed I had to keep it hidden. I couldn't talk about it. And that created distance. It also created tension. It created exhaustion of a lack of authenticity and connection with them. And a belief that they were sort of, secretly looking down at our money and looking down at me. And my identity was at stake. I wasn't worried about people liking me for my money. I was worried about them hating me for it. And I didn't want anyone to know. So when I think of insight for business, it's about the importance of bringing the personal, bringing your true self to your work. Now, of course, there have to be boundaries between, personal and work lives. But when we speak our truth and we show up for who we really are, we tend to be more engaged, more present, more vulnerable, which leads to a more authentic connection, and it helps build more cohesive teams, builds more trust, and ultimately creates better outcomes. So knowing and speaking your truth is an insight for life. And for many years, I didn't speak my truth. I did everything I could to keep my truth hidden, the truth of my wealth, from friends, from family. I didn't want to be judged. but it's exhausting to hide. And when you don't show up for who you really are, it's really hard to build those authentic connections. And when you don't talk about something, when you keep it in the dark, that's where shame grows. So I ended up writing a book about my experience around wealth called We Need to Talk, a memoir about wealth. And now my work is speaking my truth to large groups of advisors and clients, because we learn from each other's stories and we don't get to hear enough honest human stories about the emotional side of money and wealth. Hearing from peers helps clients feel acknowledged, validated, feel less isolated, and ultimately make better decisions. My insight for finances is that money is emotional. When we're aware of our emotions that come up around money, then we can be more in control of our reactions and not just on autopilot. And so every one of us has a money story. It's what we learned growing up. It's how we think about money, how we feel about money. So how did your mother think about money? What was your father's relationship with money? What did you learn about saving, spending, giving? There's a lot of emotion wrapped up in money. And when you know your own money story, you're likely to have a lot more empathy for other people's money stories, like your spouse or your children. They have a different money story than you do. And if you're a wealth advisor, being aware of your own money story, of your own biases, limitations, will really help you build stronger relationships. So in the end, ultimately, I believe the insight for us in our business as well as life is to show up for who we are, bring our humanity to life and to business. And that's the end of my story.
Thank you, Jennifer. Being true to one's authentic self can push us out of our comfort zone, but it also pushes us in the right direction. Thank you for your time and for all the insights you've so generously shared with us today. And thank you to all of you who joined in and listened to today's episode. If you're interested in getting a copy of Jennifer's book, you can find it on Amazon. Just search for We Need to Talk, a memoir about wealth. Or you can get more info at her website, jenniferrisher.com. We have links in the show notes to make it super easy for you. And while you're clicking links, please do check out the link to halfmydaf.com. In 2020, Jennifer launched #HalfMyDAF with her husband David, and together they have contributed millions in matching funds, rallied donors and nonprofits, and created a community that has moved $50 million to nonprofits. So impressive. This is one of over 20 episodes of the Thrivefecta podcast. For the full playlist of episodes, click the link in the show notes or visit uswealth.bmo.com/insights. You can find the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Simply search for BMO Thrivefecta on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and or YouTube. At BMO, we're committed to real financial progress for every woman, so they're prepared to seize every opportunity. BMO creates innovative educational programs for women and sponsors organizations that support women entrepreneurs. And through the BMO Celebrating Women program, we proudly recognize women for their philanthropy, entrepreneurship, and innovation. Contact BMO Wealth Management through our website at uswealth.bmo.com. A big thank you to all who made this show possible. For a full list of credits, just check out the description where you can also read our disclosure. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time.